The DNA test said my twins have different fathers. I've only been with my husband. The geneticist kept staring at her computer screen like it might change if she looked hard enough. My husband, Theo, sat next to me, squeezing my hand, while our 3-year-old twins played with blocks in the corner of the office. We were only here because our daughter Rosie needed testing for a rare blood disorder that runs in Theo's family. Routine stuff, except nothing about what happened next was routine. The geneticist finally looked up and asked if we could speak privately. Theo's mom took the kids to the waiting room while we sat there confused. She pulled up the results and pointed at the screen. The twins had different biological fathers according to the DNA markers. Theo dropped my hand immediately. His face went from confused to devastated to furious in about 3 seconds. He stood up so fast his chair hit the wall. I kept saying I didn't understand because I had never been with anyone else. We'd been together since college, 8 years. He was the only man I'd ever been with, and that was the truth. Theo wouldn't even look at me. He stormed out of the office and I chased him down the hallway trying to explain something I couldn't explain. He drove off and left me standing in the parking lot with 2 toddlers. For 3 weeks, he stayed at his brother's place. He wouldn't answer my calls. His mother left me a voicemail calling me disgusting. His whole family turned on me overnight because the science said I was a liar. I hired a private investigator because I knew something was wrong. I also requested my complete medical records from the fertility clinic we'd used. We had struggled to conceive and eventually did IVF. The investigator found nothing suspicious in our personal life because there was nothing to find. But the medical records told a different story. I noticed something strange in the embryo transfer documentation. The clinic had recorded transferring 2 embryos on March 15th, but my calendar showed my appointment was March 14th, a 1-day difference. I called the clinic and asked for clarification. They said it must be a typo, but I pressed harder. I demanded the full lab records. They stonewalled me for 2 weeks until I threatened legal action. Finally, a young lab technician called me crying. She said she needed to tell me something but was terrified of losing her job. We met at a coffee shop and she slid a folder across the table. The clinic had made a catastrophic error. On March 14th, they had transferred one of my embryos and 1 embryo belonging to another couple. The lab tech on duty that night had mislabeled the samples. My daughter Rosie was biologically mine and Theo's. My son Benji was biologically the child of 2 complete strangers. The clinic had discovered the mistake 6 months after the twins were born, but decided to bury it rather than face a lawsuit. They falsified records and hoped no one would ever do genetic testing. The other couple had a son the same age as my twins. That boy was biologically mine and Theo's. I sat in that coffee shop shaking so hard I spilled my coffee everywhere. The clinic had stolen my biological child and given me someone else's. They had destroyed my marriage and reputation to cover their own mistake. I drove straight to Theo's brother's apartment and pounded on the door. When Theo finally opened it, looking exhausted and angry, I shoved the folder into his chest. I watched his face change as he read through the documents. The color drained from his skin. He kept flipping pages back and forth like he couldn't process what he was seeing. He looked up at me with tears streaming down his face and said he was sorry over and over. We sued the fertility clinic together. The case made national news. The other couple sued too. We met them during the legal proceedings and they were just as devastated. Their son looked exactly like Theo. My son Benji looked exactly like the other father. The clinic tried to settle quietly, but we refused. We wanted accountability. The director who approved the cover-up went to prison for fraud and tampering with medical records. The clinic paid both families 8 figures each, but no amount of money could fix what they broke. We now have an unusual arrangement with the other family. We see each other monthly so the boys can know their biological siblings. Benji calls us mom and dad because we raised him and we love him completely. But he also knows his biological parents and spends holidays with them, too. Theo and I renewed our vows last year. He still apologizes sometimes for not believing me. I tell him the evidence was overwhelming and anyone would have doubted. The real villains were in lab coats who played with our families and then lied about it for years.